Hi, I'm Sherman with Highland Park Lapidary, and I'm here at our China factory, and I'm going to explain to you how to rebuild your EverClean pump. So the EverClean pump, many of you have these on your EverCleans. They're a serviceable pump, and we have a pump rebuild kit that we sell, and the pump rebuild kit includes this following items. It includes a new main shaft assembly with new bearings, a new impeller, with the screw that holds the impeller on, and a seal that gets replaced on the pump, and then a washer that goes on the top. This is a spring washer. So, to take your pump apart, first thing you want to do is you want to remove the bottom part of the pump. And here I'm just going to unscrew this. Then you'll see there is a screw here. You hold the impeller and you undo that screw, and that holds the impeller on. I'm going to take the old impeller off. There we go. And then I'm going to flip the pump over. You'll see there's 4 screws that hold the top part of the pump on. Unscrew that. I'm keeping my screws. I don't want to lose my washers or anything like that. So now I've taken my pump apart and keep my screws, and you'll see that my impeller's on the inside here, and sometimes I can't get these out very easily. So what I'm going to do is walk over to get a surface that I can tap. You see when I'm going to basically tap this, hold the pump, tap this to pull it out. I don't want to hit this winding here. If you hit the winding, you'll wipe your winding out. So let's go over here. And I got a nice little wood surface here, so I'm going to hold the pump. And now I've pulled this out. Now, there's my washer still on the inside there. That little spring washer, that's my old one. You can't see it really in the spring washer. There we go. There's the spring washer that comes out. So those are my old parts here. I'll put those aside. Now, to rebuild my pump, you'll want to also then take your old seal out. Now this is a new seal, so I'm not going to actually remove it, but removing your seal is easy. You're just going to use a screwdriver to push it out, pop it out the other side. Here I'm going to grab another pump body, and I'm going to use a little bit of grease. You see I've got a little grease handy here. It's just axle grease, simple grease. I'll put it around this all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the seal here, and I'm just going to push it in here, just with my hand, and there it goes. So that is in place. Now I'm going to flip my pump up. I'm going to take my new shaft here, and I want to put a little bit of oil on that shaft before I slip it in to the seal. Just a little bit of light oil. That's going to pop down in there. And then I'm going to take my pump body. Just got to grab another one here, and the little spring washer goes down in the center. If you look in the center of that shaft, see if you can make sure they can see that. I'll drop that in, and then I'll use a screwdriver, not a magnetized screwdriver. There we go. I've got that, so it's sitting flat in the bottom. Then I'm going to take my pump, I'm going to flip it upside down and slip it into that hole. That way my spring washer doesn't come in. And I just put the pump down, and then what I want to do is I want to orient the pump correctly so the output of the pump here is at the right location. So this will be fine just like this. So, and then I'll take my screws on the top, put the screws back in. Now don't worry if you notice that the old pump I took apart has this red housing. The new one has this one I'm putting together. This is actually, I'm just using this pump body because it's a 220 pump body. It was easy for me to just reassemble. And I have to ship it out to a customer anyway. So, and I won't fully tighten this yet. I'm gonna put it together, then I'll go and I'll fully tighten my screws, come back and fully tighten them. Big thing you want to pay attention to here is you want to make sure that you have everything aligned And you'll note that this sits down all the way. There's a little flange in there. If you'll see on this pump body, you'll see there's a little flange that the top part or the motor should go right over top of that. I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna grab my new impeller, and the new impeller has two sides. This is the inside that goes towards the motor. That's the outside where the net goes. So this slips down over the shaft, just like that. And then I'm gonna take a screw, my new screw, screw it in here. And I'm not gonna tighten this too tight, but I'm just gonna go down to where it's snug, but the thing can turn. I can see it can turn freely. Okay, so what I've done is I've got my impeller on. I'm ready to test. So I'm gonna test the motor to make sure the motor's working before I put the bottom on, because I can visually see what's going on. So let's walk over here. And we're running a 220 motor, so I'm going to turn it on, and you can see it's not happening. I can feel it vibrating, but it's not moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this hammer, it's a dead blow hammer, and I'm going to hit the end, and then I'm going to go hit the other end here to seat the pump, and now I'm going to test it back up, and lo and behold, there we go. So that's a real key trick here, is when you put new bearings in place, up to me, when you put bearings in a pump, you want to be able to tap the top of it, and I'm using a dead blow hammer. You can get this at a hardware store, Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace, whatever. I'm tapping the top first, then I'm coming back, tapping the bottom, and then I can feel that pump is moving really smoothly. And now the next step that we do is we put the bottom of our pump on. So I look at my orientation, my pressure line going to the top EverClean's here, and since this is sitting on the side of my EverClean, I'm going to place this here. Now, just one little note here. If your O-ring comes loose, then you can use a little bit of oil and a little bit of grease to hold it in place. Now, this is a new O-ring seal, and this will just hold it in place there so it doesn't come loose. I'm going to line it up here, and I'm going to put my screws in. Find the screw holes. And when you go to tighten your screws, you don't want to over tighten it. Don't strip it out. And we give the pumps a 90-day warranty. You know, running a pump in a gritty environment is going to be abusive for any pump. And that's why we have the rebuild kit. And the reason why we also ship it with a new shaft is because it's a gritty environment. The shaft, oftentimes you'll see after a while, even though you got a seal in here that's holding this, you'll get wear in the actual shaft itself, because that's a seal surface. So we provide you a new shaft. So essentially you get a new motor. It's a complete rebuild with that. So I've tightened the bottom screws. Now I'm going to go make sure that my top screws are tightened. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn it on again just to make sure I feel some air blowing out of it, just very slightly. And I can feel air back in my hand coming out, so we're good to go. That is a rebuild pump. You can do it yourself. All you need is a Phillips screwdriver, dead blow hammer, a little bit of grease, and some patience.